talk about where JP lived.
Oh my goodness. All right, good Monday morning, you guys. Woo! It has been a hot mess of a weekend for me, so I can't wait to dive in there. But you guys listening to Author Talk with me, Russell, and our guest co-host today is Greg, and our lovely author guest today is JP McLean. So you guys, hey, how's everybody doing? So, okay. I have crazy stories. I will try to sum this up as quick
Appreciate that.
I will sum it up. So Friday, you guys, I had a book launch on Friday. It was also my 6-year wedding anniversary. So me and Josh have been together almost 10 years, married 6 years, okay? I ordered a vehicle back in February, and it's currently locked up in quality control. It's been there for 2 months, and I am not the most patient person, okay? So I started looking online. I had called this dealership the day before. 2 people were like, no, this car is sold, whatever. And I was like, fine. I was all sad, whatever. And so they called me at 8:45 in the morning. I just dropped Meadow off at school, and they're like, hey, we actually checked our system. It's not sold. If you want it, I'll put your name on it. You got to come get it. Well, little did I know, it was 2 hours away. And so my sister-in-law, luckily enough, was here. She could watch the girls for me. I pulled Meadow out of school because I wasn't going to be back in time. She watched the girls for me. And I told Josh, I'm going. Do you want to come? Okay. And so I had to pick him up. So needless to say, I came back with a new vehicle on my anniversary, which was wonderful. I also had Nathan Ingram's book launch that night, which was the book that's the first time for me ever to get a book accepted by Book Club. So it was super exciting. He is still currently #1, and he is #1 in new releases as well for his book, Price at the Coffee Shop. It is 99 cents. I do highly recommend getting it because it is a book about hope. And if you know someone that is lacking in hope, you definitely should do that. On top of that, you guys, it was Father's Day. So happy belated Father's Day to you, Greg and Russell, because that also was a crazy whirlwind. We decided to tile our outdoor table, and we had fun with a wet saw that I've never used before. So that is my weekend in a nutshell, you guys, to sum everything up. But what did everybody else do this weekend? Russell, what did you do? You usually do some cool outdoor stuff. What did you do?
I didn't do anything cool. My son and his fiance came in, and we entertained them for the weekend.
Hey, Bob, how are you?
Hey, Bob, I'd rather talk to JP about what she did outside on her little island in the ocean.
Yeah. I had a great Friday night. Friday night was outdoor martinis on the deck overlooking the water. It was beautiful. It was fun. Lots of, just one couple, good friends. And the next night was another party outside, other side of the island, potluck. So I didn't have to cook, which was great, just one dish. And then yesterday was Father's Day. So I got to chat with my dad, which was sweet. I like that. He lives in Ontario, a little further away.
Oh, nice.
The great life, the good life.
Nice.
Good life. I'm not complaining.
I love it. I love it. Greg, what did you do this weekend? What did you do for Father's Day?
Well, for Father's Day, my son and my grandson came over, and actually my grandson got me a little stuffed DeLorean from Back to the Future. So
wow, I love
that was pretty cool. And of course, we went to one restaurant, and they had like an hour-and-a-half wait. So we actually walked next door to the Olive Garden, and we got sat right away, and we were done eating by the time we would have been sitting down at the other place.
Nice. Okay. I see you. Nice. Nice. Good morning, Sarah. You guys, hey, we hope you guys are having a good Monday, a good start to your Monday. This is always the highlight of mine. But, Russell, how about you talk about our podcast?
Okay. JP, we were shocked last November when Amy got a notice after she put us on the podcast channels that we were starting to move up in the ratings. And we actually don't understand how, and we're very humbled that people listen to us, but we're in the top 10 now. More people listen to us on the podcast than watch us. And we thank you if you're listening to us. Amy, where can people find us that don't know about us on podcasts so far?
Yeah. So you can find us on Amazon Music, Apple, Android, Spotify, iHeart, Good Pods, literally everywhere that you can listen to a podcast, you can find us. If you want to see our kookiness and me talk a lot with my hands and not control my facial expressions. I control what comes out, but not what my face says. Okay, you guys know this. Then make sure you join us over on our Facebook group page. You can watch us on YouTube, or you can follow any one of us on here. We are open books. We love to connect. If you would love to be on, please send me a message, like a Facebook message. I'm much quicker on that than any other realm, just because I do have 2 little kids and I do a lot of hats. Okay, so
yeah, don't text her because she doesn't respond to text.
oh my
except her
God! Well, so I
mother's.
did that one time. It was one time. Okay. Anyways, Facebook message is the way to get in touch with me. A LinkedIn message is a little bit harder because I only check that about once a week. But if it's something you really want to get booked, please send me a Facebook message. I will make sure that it gets done. But with all of that being said, tonight on Through the Eyes of Authors, you guys, it is a really big night. So I am hosting I don't know, it's a big shindig, I guess is the best way to say it. So I am going to be hosting the film Get Your Books into Film seminar thing. You're going to hear my daughter at the door, which we haven't heard in a while. It's fun. Seminar thing on tonight at 7 p.m. And so we're going to have Tosca Lee and Robert J. Sawyer, and they're going to come on and talk about their experience with getting their books made into films. So it's going to be a big crowd tonight. So if you want to get in, please send me a message and I will send you the link. This is just to educate and to help all of those that are being approached to have their books made into movies or have that dream of having their book up on the big screen. So you are not going to want to miss tonight. That is 7 p.m. Central Time. So make sure that you tune in. If you don't have the link, you don't usually get it, send me a message, you guys. It's all about messages today. And I will get you the link because this is a very, very important time. So, yes.
I'm looking forward to it. Really looking forward to it. Yeah.
Yay!
I'll be there.
Oh, yay. Russell.
Okay, before we get started on JP's book, and I'm dying to do it, but JP and I were both in a session talking about audio books a couple of weeks ago, and that's something that our listeners, a lot of our listeners, JP, are authors, or they're working on one of their first books, or they're wishing they could, or they like listening about what authors do or new authors. What's your current thinking about audio books? I want to test you because I'm thinking a lot about it too. What's on your mind on your audio books?
Well, I don't have any audiobooks right now. And one of the reasons I don't have them is because they're expensive to produce, which is why I was on that show with you trying to see if there was another way to do it. And I think that it is continuing to grow and it's very popular. A lot of people I know listen to books. I think the commuting business has fallen down a little bit because there's not as much commuting going on, but still it's a big market and I'd like to take part in it. I actually did contact some people about having an AI voice do the books, but I wasn't happy with the quality of it, so I didn't go with it. So I'm still looking, still searching, but the fellow that we were in conversation with was a male actor doing male voices, and my voices are almost entirely female.
Yeah, I don't really think if your inner voice of your main character or your book, hang on, I'm waiting for this train to go by, is female, that a male character can do it.
Yeah, I agree. I've been listening to a lot of samples of audiobooks to get a sense of how they're done. And definitely, I think it has to be a female, for my books anyway. I mean, there are male voices, but they're the minor players. They're not the major players, for sure.
Have you even checked out doing an ACX like audition? Because you can still do the auditions and not have to publish the book. And that way you can hear some of the voices. And yes, they are expensive. Yeah, trust me, I know I do have one out there. But
I haven't done it yet.
But you can actually, and then hear some of the voices. And they do have different programs where you can actually do it where maybe they just get 1% of the profits and they help advertise, or you just flat out pay. But it also depends on how many words and how long it's going to take too. That's where the cost comes in.
Yeah, and that's part of the problem is that I have series, so I don't want to just do one book because a listener would be unhappy if they wanted to go to a second book, and there's 7 in that one series. So like 7 times X dollars. It adds up. Probably need a new car before I would get old.
Right? Yes. Okay. Yes. I totally understand that. I am an advocate for audiobooks just because I multitask a lot. And so like if I could put it on my Alexa while I'm cleaning or my daughter's sleeping and I'm trying to like fold laundry or something, I can always listen to it on the go. That's why I'm a huge advocate for it. Now, there is something to be said about like holding the book in your hand. I do love that like new book smell on top of it, you know? So I think there's both ways. I know like commuting has gone down because many people realize they could do their job from home, right? Which is fabulous. I've always done that. So it's a nice thing, but I think it is something that is like a big investment and you have to kind of view it that way. And so, you know, that can be a deterrent too. So I'm always an advocate for loopholes. I love loopholes. I feel like that should just be my nickname, is like the loophole finder, because I always find different ways of doing things that are cost effective. I love budget friendly things, but yeah, audiobooks for me just aren't going away. But it is something that, yeah, it's expensive. But I'm with Russell and you though, JP, is like if you have like a female that's a main character, then it needs to be like a female doing the voice of it, because they're supposed to bring that book to life. And no offense to men, I'm not trying to be offensive, but they don't have like the delicate touch of a female's voice to do that character. They can try, but there's just a difference, you know, between it.
Yeah. Have you listened to cast recordings where they have a cast of characters doing the book?
I haven't, no.
I downloaded some samples. It's pretty fascinating. It's like close to a movie.
Yeah, I bet it's expensive too.
Oh, I bet it is. I didn't look at the cost.
I actually know a husband and wife that actually do readings together of books also.
Wow.
Oh, that would be kind of fun. I don't think the world can handle me doing an audiobook though. I don't think they could. I don't know.
Dan Sandoval, if I recall.
Oh yeah, I've met him. Yeah. I don't me and Josh couldn't handle doing that at all. But so JP, you have mentioned that you have series. You have one series that has 7 books in it. And I know I had put on here that we're talking about Bloodmark, but tell us a little bit about that series that you have going on. Is Bloodmark a part of it, or is that a standalone? How does
Bloodmark is a new series that I've started.
Okay.
So the first series is called The Gift Legacy, and it starts with Secret Sky and goes through 7 books. When I finished that series, I wanted to try something different, do a little bit different. So I picked a different supernatural power, so to speak, and a different set of characters, still set in Vancouver because I like the Pacific Northwest setting, so I still set it there. But I just wanted something completely new, refresh my mind. I changed my perspective from first person to third person, and I introduced a multi-characters perspective. So I have 3 characters in the new series, and they each have a chapter separate, like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 throughout. And I've just finished the 2nd book in that series. It's in edit right now, so it will become a series as well. 3 books right now for sure. I don't know how many more will come. So the first book is about a secret society of people who can fly. Okay. And it takes the character starting from her not knowing what's happening. She's just losing gravity to, you know, becoming involved in a deadly society of people. And then the book Bloodmark, which is came out last October, is about a woman who is born with a chain of scarlet birthmarks around her body. And growing up with that has formed her, shaped her, and she is, used to hiding and being ostracized as a kid. So she's thrilled when these blood marks or birthmarks start to disappear. And then she's works at a florist, and she delivers flowers to a professor, and he recognizes the marks, and he informs her, those aren't birthmarks, those are blood marks, and they're protecting you. Yeah. And as soon as they're gone, whoever you're being protected from will be able to get to you. So she's got to figure out what's going on before that last chain of blood marks disappears.
Wow. Okay.
Did you go to school to learn how to describe your book like that? That was superior description. It was like selling and building excitement at the same time. I am so jealous.
It was like
That's
the
one of the best jobs I've
elevator.
ever heard.
Yeah, it was the best elevator pitch. Like if I was stuck in an elevator with you and you had told me about this book, I'd been like, let's just keep walking. Just walk with me. You know? It's one of those stuff. So what was it like switching? So out of everyone on here, I'm the one that's not a writer. I just promote you guys. So it's probably a dumb question, but I want to know, what was it like switching from first person to third person? Was it difficult or was it like a smooth transition for you? Which one?
Amy, that wasn't dumb. That was a question that I've been dying to ask her. As soon as she said
my gosh. Okay,
it's a smart question.
I know the question.
It was so hard. It was so hard. Because when I first started writing first person, it took a long time before I got to the point where every sentence wasn't starting with I. You know, that first person is hard until you get the swing of it. The same happened for third person. So I kept starting the sentences all the same. And I had to go back and rewrite and finesse and make it sound better because, yeah, it's tough to change perspective. But I must say, now that I've done it, I'd like to say I like third person better, but I think I'd switch back to first. If I was doing another novel, I think you can get closer to the character in my mind if you can stay in first. The difficulty with first is you can't get in as much side information easily. Like you have to have conversations with people to pull that information out or stumble across things to pull that other information out that fills out the story. Whereas with third person, you just get the other character to say what they thought of the situation and bring those secrets in through them. It's a trade-off.
Yeah. It is. So how long have you been writing?
I keep saying 10 years, but it's 11 years now because I started in 2011 writing the Secret Sky book. Mm-hmm. And I've been pretty successful at putting a book a year out. One year I put a novella out. I gave it away as a freebie to my newsletter patrons. But a book a year is about as much as I can do. I could not do any more than that. And it astounds me how people who have families and children and jobs write as well. I just don't know how they do it.
Yeah, no. I mean, I know I wear a lot of hats, but I don't think I could add that hat to my chaoticness that I have going on by any means. So
I have a question.
Yeah.
JP, why did you start in first person? And now you want to go back to it. I'm still stuck on that because first person is infamously harder to write in than third person. If you're a brand new author, they always say go to third person. It's easier. You'll get it right.
I thought first person was easy. For me, it felt natural. And I suppose that's because I'd been reading a lot of books that were in first person. So I was quite familiar with it. I'd been reading a lot of the lighter fantasy, not the heavy duty other world fantasy, but vampires and werewolf kind of fantasy, and was really enjoying that first person perspective. So I just went to that right away. I didn't even consider the third person. Mind you, I was only thinking of the one character because the way I started the first book was I didn't sit down to say I'm going to write a book. I sat down to while away a wet, nasty winter, my first winter back on Denman after being in Tucson for 3 years in that lovely warm heat. Anyway, so I wrote a scene. I'd been thinking about dreams I had of flying. And I thought, well, I'm just going to write this scene and pass the time with that in the evenings. And it was me jumping off the deck, or the character jumping off the deck and flying down the coast. So it started off that way, and it just carried on that way. I didn't change it after I'd started it, but it grew and grew and grew.
Now, one question that I would have it's reading the blurb. It sounds like a fantasy suspense thriller mixed. Now,
Yeah.
Mixing the two of being a multi-genre book has to be somewhat difficult.
Yeah, it is. I'm more of I like to create a puzzle and kind of solve a puzzle with the book, but the supernatural element is my jam. That's what I love. That's the part that I put into the books that I love the most. And I like that the characters run into real life problems in the here and now, set in current day. So having the thriller part of it as well has been difficult in the marketing perspective, because when you're categorizing your book, and I categorize it, you can't categorize anything with supernatural as anything other than supernatural fantasy, because people who are reading a thriller don't want to find out the chick can fly. If they're a strictly thriller person, that's not something that really interests them. So I stick to that when I'm categorizing it, but I tack on the other categories so that people who might be interested in that element might also find the book just through searching through those terms. But it's been difficult to market the books for sure.
I can imagine. I think we have one that we're working on with me and Bird, who's normally here. We have one that we have with 5 authors that was a Western fantasy. So the mixture is very intriguing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're interesting. I mean, I like reading those books that pull in different elements. And a lot of books do pull in the elements, but they're established authors, so they don't necessarily need to explain themselves or the fact that they've mixed a genre. Romance is like that. Almost all thrillers have, well, not almost all thrillers, but a lot of the fantasy books have romance elements to them. Mm-hmm. So there's lots of mixed genres.
Do you have elements of romance in your books?
Yes, but it's not a happily ever romance, so I don't classify it as romance, that's the big thing. You have to have that happily ever after if it's a romance, and there's definitely not happily ever afters. So there's relationships, and there's a little bit of spice, kind of a lot of spice in the first series, not so much in the second, but it's definitely not happily ever after. You would have to read the whole series to get to the happily ever after, because the end of the first book is really kind of not happily ever after.
Yeah. No, I know me and Russell are familiar. We have learned, because we did a bunch of author talk shorts for some of the speakers at Lovapalooza, which is a romance summit. And we have learned all different degrees of spice level for romance books. And the romance genre is broken down into several different subgenres. I'm not super familiar with romance novels in general. I'm more of like suspense thriller. I always say this on everyone. Suspense thriller, like someone's got to be like murdered or killed. I don't know. I'm an aggressive person, I guess. But those are my kind of books. And so me and Russell learned a whole lot on that. So when you say like a lot of spice, I'm like, oh, okay, I understand that. It took me interviewing some romance authors to get that. But what was like, I guess it's 2 questions in one, and you can answer it however you want to. But one of them is, what was the bite that got you into like, I'm going to write a book? And then to follow up to that, why did you pick to write like a suspense thriller book?
Well, the bite was, I had no idea how much I was going to enjoy writing. No idea. But once I started, something clicked in me. And it was like I was addicted to it. I couldn't wait to get back to it. I would rush through the housework just to sit down. It was my reward. I would just get through all that nasty stuff so I could sit down and write. And I don't know why it took me like that, because it's not like something I dreamed about doing my whole life. I mean, I used to think when I was slushing through the snow and slog and not in Toronto, where I grew up and first started working, I used to sit on the bus and, going to work thinking, oh, wouldn't it be nice if I could just work from home? But I never thought I'd have an idea big enough for a book. So when I started and it turned into something that kept growing and growing, and I kept thinking of more ideas that I could fit in, and then it became this puzzle. Like, how do you make this story interesting and keep the tension going and develop these characters and make them make the villain nasty and make the good people interesting and have your audience want to cheer for them. I just found it a puzzle. I loved it. I couldn't stay away from it. So that's the first part. And then the second part was, why thriller suspense? Same thing. Like this is what I enjoy reading. I enjoy reading these genres. So it just seemed natural that would be what I would write. I couldn't imagine writing a romance, because I'm not inclined to the happily ever after. I want to see, I guess I'm like maybe not murder. Murder's good, but broken people. I want to see broken people. That I find interesting.
Right, because broken people create a dynamic in your story. Don't you think so?
Ooh.
All of my
Absolutely.
characters are broken. I don't believe in unbroken people. Everybody's broke.
Yes, right now, yes.
several different ways.
Yes, for sure. But man, that has to be like the best answer I've probably honestly ever heard. Like I hear, the story came to me in a dream, or, I wanted to dabble in something different, and so the fact that you're writing what you enjoy reading, so your audience base because you are your own audience, which I talk about all the time. I love that. Like you are living what I talk, and I love you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It seems so natural. It just seems so natural to do.
Yeah.
But the funny thing about that is that people don't necessarily know my reading taste, because I do read a lot of other stuff as well. So when they learned that I was writing and that this is what I was choosing to write, I had a few hairy eyeballs thrown at me like, really? That's what you choose to write? Yep, I love it. It's like
why would they look at you like, why would they be puzzled at that?
Well, I think that people like to distinguish like the literary fiction from the genre fiction. And I just happened to get nailed with it. Like you're reading vampires and werewolves and yeah. And I think people kind of feel a little snooty about that.
My experience is that most serious readers have a lot of different types of genres they read.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I do for sure. And I love, I'll read a high fantasy. I love high fantasy. I'll read thrillers. I'll even read romances if there's enough, stuff happening in it, like suspenseful thrillers and the romances where there's a lot of angst.
Yeah.
We met during our marathon romance writer interviews. A lot of very interesting writers. I would read their stuff just to see how their writing reflects from their personality, because these were interesting people.
Yeah, I mean,
all women, but very interesting.
It was, and I think, going back to like what you and Russell had said, I think, reading a bunch of different genres and enjoying all of them is what kind of helps make you a well-rounded writer. And so you pick what you like the most, but if you want to add different elements to it, you can, because you read all kinds. You're not just pigeoned into one, right? Because sometimes you can pigeonhole yourself into one. You're kind of like, oh, well, this is stagnant. Like it's not challenging. It's not fun anymore. Or if you can add all these other elements because you're reading all of them and it sparks different ideas and creativity, I could see where that would be awesome. I mean, I do that in the social media realm. I follow Social Media Examiner, and I mean, then I get all kinds of ideas, and then Greg calls me and he's like, Amy, let's just start a Comic-Con. I'm like, I don't know the word no. So I'm like a well-rounded, I'm a huge advocate for that 100%. But I know that you are a best-selling author, so tell us a little bit about what awards have you won with your series?
Oh my goodness. Well, I took a different turn this time with the marketing part of it, because when you're writing a series, I was only ever advertising the first book in the series, and I was promoting that first book in the series for the 7-book series. And so when I started the new series, I thought I'd had a brand new opportunity to try something different. So I submitted to as many contests as I could find that were, respectable contests, and I won 8 awards for this book for Bloodmark. So I won the Silver Global Book Award for it. I won a Eric Hoffer Award for it. I'm still in the running. I'm a finalist in the SIBA, the Chanticleer Award, which will get awarded this month. And it's also won a Wishing Shelf Book Award. And I'm going to forget some of them. The gold, it's won the 5-star gold Literary Titan, and a reader favorite, I think is the name of it. So it's done really well. It surprised me. I didn't think I would get this much attention. I thought maybe it might get 1 or 2 honorable mentions. And so that it's done so well has really kind of confirmed for me that I can do third person if I want to do third person, because it's working out okay.
Yeah, no, I think it's more than okay. I think that's fabulous. And if you forget some, that is a good problem to have. Oh, I've won so many awards, I don't remember them all. That is a great statement. So stick with that statement, okay? Because I absolutely love that. No, I mean the whole just concept and idea. When I was looking at your Amazon page and I was reading about it, and then when you were talking about it, like Russell had said, I mean, it was just like, can you just tell me what happens? Like, just talk to me, like that whole thing. So what sparked the idea? Like, how did you come up with the whole concept and the idea for Bloodmark? Was it just something that appeared to you, or how did you come up with the whole premise for it?
It was actually sparked by a TV show. It was the intro to Blind Spot, and it was the very first scene where a duffel bag has been dumped in Times Square, and they've cleared the square, and a bomb guy dressed in the big suit is approaching the bag, and out shoots a hand from the bag and unzips it from inside. And the woman who exposes herself is naked and completely covered in tattoos. And she doesn't know how she got them or who she is or why she has them or how she ended up in Times Square. And I saw that and I thought, I wonder what it must be like to live with markings that aren't of your choosing and not understand where they came from or why you have them. And that's where it started from. And then I developed this around that whole concept.
Well, I'll be the first to say that Jamie Alexander did an excellent job on that role. So I have seen it. And
yeah, that scene.
I can see the.
Yeah.
I can definitely see the similarities.
Yeah. It was just like, that's behind it. You see these things. Like sometimes you'll watch a new cave being discovered or a wreck coming out of the river or the ground when the water levels fall. And then it just sparks these ideas. And the funny thing about writing is that the more you write, I used to have a binder, or not a binder, like a file on my computer full of ideas that I would just squirrel away, and I would only like pull one at a time out because it was a finite amount of ideas and I might run out of them. But what I discovered is the more you write, the more ideas you have, and then you can't contain them all. There's so many after you start writing. It's like your imagination's a muscle and you have to keep using it. And the more you use it, the better it gets.
That is like the best description of it. I've never actually thought of it as a muscle, but that makes sense because everyone says that the more that they write, the more ideas that they have, and they have to like jot them down, or like they're working on 5 stories because they just have all these ideas that flow. And then they're like, oh, well, this is another one. Let's start it. So that is, I love it. I'm going to borrow that from you, JP. Because I absolutely love that. So tell us, what is next in this series for you? Because you said that it's looking like it's going to be 3. Does it have the potential to grow into similar to the 7 series, like 7 book series, or are you going to dabble in something else? What's next for you?
Well, I don't do very well writing 2 books at a time. I've discovered that that's just not my jam. I can't do that. So I've got the 2nd book written in the series. It's called Ghostmark, and it will be out later this fall. And it's in edit right now. And I'm starting to jot down ideas for a 3rd book. So I've definitely got a 3rd book in that series. I don't know if it will go beyond 3rd book or not. But when I was writing the 1st series, I thought it was a one-off. And then I thought it was a trilogy, ended up at 7. So math is clearly not my one of my skills. So I will say 3 at this point. But I also, in the back of my head, and I'm making notes on, but not writing, but making notes on a series of another series that has more magic and different magic. And I blame Victoria Aveyard for this because the magic she uses in her books is out of this world. It is so imaginative and there's so much of it. So my next series is going to be magic, and it might be twin sisters.
Ooh.
And they might be witches.
I got to tell you, twin sisters are magic anyway. I just had twin granddaughters just born, and they're already it's like weird ESP. They're genetically identical too, by the way. And it's like we kid about it because they, even after they were born, still turned to each other first. It's crazy.
Wow.
Wonderful.
Well, that's kind of the bit about the twins that's got my interest. I know it's been done a lot, but I'm still gonna investigate it further.
Well,
Yeah.
Shakespeare proved everything's been done before, right? Because
So
he stole
true.
everything. So don't worry about whether it's been done before.
Yeah.
What I want to know is, why didn't you start this interview talking about those 8 awards? Because that is a huge, huge thing, and I've been waiting because I've been going on and off. I'm having a little Wi-Fi problem again. That's a huge thing. That's a big deal. That
It
gives
feels
you
like bragging. It feels like bragging. So you don't.
That's your job.
You deserve to brag. You the way that you have to view it, because I'm one of those, JP. I don't like talking about myself, and not that it shows, but it's one of those things though. Like, you work so hard on your books, all authors do, and so you should be proud when it's recognized and your hard work is recognized, because it truly is. Like Fern always says, it's like birthing a baby. You've put so much time and effort and money and all this into this book. And so the fact that it's being acknowledged and you're winning all these awards.
Show this baby off.
Yeah. I mean, that's amazing. We love hearing them and talking about it and everything. Oh my gosh.
A real award. They sent me a medal. It's not on a chain, but hey, I'm going to have one welded to it and maybe
there
stick
you
it
go.
on my forehead.
I would
You could
wear
just
it.
make your husband wear it. That'd even be better. Here, you're wearing this and you like it.
Yeah. Not sure it works that way in my house.
I would wear it, and then I would be like, oh, this here, and I would just start talking loud to myself. Well, this I won doing this, and I'm notorious. I live for sometimes awkward moments, so I would just do that in a grocery store and be like, oh, this here, oh no, I won this for my book, and just start talking about it. I mean,
I just wear like a chain of them, and I'll look like a mayor. You know how the mayors always have those chains with all these medals on them? That's what I'll do.
There you go.
Or it's like Christmas Story. You got a major award.
Yeah.
Like the lamb.
Yeah, I love it though. But no, you should be proud of all of your awards and everything like that.
Thank you very much.
Do you have like a rough timeline of when your next book's going to come out this fall, or is it just this fall?
It'll be early November. I have to talk to Mickey about it first. I'm thinking it will be early November. I'm just, like I say, trying to, I haven't got the edit back yet, the final one. So it depends on how much work there is yet to do on it. Hopefully it will come back fairly clean, because I did get a fairly clean copy off, but we'll see. Yeah. You just don't know.
Oh, yes, I know. I hear the stories of editors. Russell usually goes tit for tat with his editors.
Editors are those that we love and hate.
We love them.
We love them because they make our books much more beautiful, and we hate them because of what they say to us.
Yeah.
Like, this is terrible. Redo it.
You always feel like a dolt after you get your edit in. You wonder if English is your first language, after you've got your edit back. Like,
yeah, I don't think if I ever did write a book and send it to an editor, I would just tell them to keep it, because I am not, grammar and spelling are not my thing. Just like math, me and Fern always say math is our greatest weakness, and we're okay with it. But spelling and grammar is just not my thing. And these people on here can totally attest to that, because they get emails from me, and I'm sure that they're just like, oh my gosh, Amy, this needed a comma. So thank you guys for not saying anything. I use Grammarly though, but no, it's just, no, I can't. No, I wouldn't. I don't take criticism very well. I would get all like mad and offended, and I'd be like, well, I'm not talking to this person anymore. They didn't like my stuff.
You get mad all the time.
That is just so far from true. I am like this 100%. I am cool as a cucumber most of the time, which is also not true. That's not true either. Even Russell knows that. I'm not. I'm not, Russell. I know.
What's that definition of most?
Most of the time. At least 80% of the time. I can't tell if he's frozen like that or if he's just staying like that. I'm going to choose that he's frozen, because that
I would too.
Because he's kind of staring a hole in me, and it's making me a little bit uncomfortable. Hey, in the same position, Russell. Stop it, man. Stop it. But no, that is
Like the God's fingers coming down right above him. It's like,
yeah, the sun is starting to win the chase.
Well, you bro's staring a hole in me, man. So I'm just saying you'll have to go back and watch that, Russell, because you definitely did that. But you guys remember that tonight on Through the Eyes of Authors, it is open. If you want to come and hear about how to get your books made into films from people that have had this experience, send me a message and I will get you guys the link to it. It's me and Mickey putting it on tonight for Through the Eyes of Authors. So make sure that you come, join in. If you can't, like always, I got your back. We are recording it. I will send you out the recording because I know life gets crazy. Okay. That's the beautiful thing about life. But closing comments, questions, last minute information that you want to know. Russell, I'm going to go to you first.
You know, I would love to sit down with JB, have a cup of coffee, preferably on her porch because it overlooks the water, and talk about this whole first and third person writing. That's a whole author thing to me that I think about all the time. And she's done a series in one, and now she's doing another series in the second one. That's the kind of intellectual challenge I just love. And I'd love to talk to her about it.
Love to talk to you too, Russell. You come on up here anytime.
I love it.
He'll take you up on that offer.
Head that way.
There you go. There you go in your little RV. Greg, what about you?
The only thing I can say is I hope everyone had a happy Father's Day. Also, I know I'm not one to talk about this, but take time for yourself. I mean, life's short. Enjoy it. Do what you can. I know I'm having one of the busiest summers I've probably ever had right now. So just make sure to take time to enjoy yourself.
Yes.
Wise words.
Yeah, let your imagination run with it and flex your imagination muscle. But JP, thank you so much for taking time out of your morning to come and talk to us about all of your books, especially about Bloodmark. And I can't wait to read it. I'm going to go and get it. But I can't wait for your next book to come out and we can have you back and talk all about it. I think it's exciting. All of these awards that you have won, they are well-deserved. Amazing. Thank you just so much for coming. So
thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So everybody, we hope that you have a fantastic Monday and a great rest of your week. Until next Monday. Bye, everybody.